Alrighty, good morning, everyone. We are back with some more Eliminator slow picks that we're doing today. Today is going to be a very chill, very relaxed um, stream and a very tight stream. So I have 40 minutes before I have to go and do other stuff. So it's going to be really nice. Okay, I hate this door behind me. I think it just looks terrible. Open door just right behind me in the background. I can stand you guys seeing my bed, but weird open door. That's not going to do it. So we're back. We have more eliminator picks to make, and I didn't. I was thinking about topics for this morning. I was thinking about talking about stacking. I feel like I've talked about stacking a lot, and we're a bit early in the draft to really talk about stacking. I think I got my. I've said my piece about the Chicago passing game and like sort of the Indianapolis passing game as well, and I've talked about the schedule stuff. So I was looking back and I was trying to think about like what's really important in the eliminator, and something I haven't really touched on is bye weeks. I like actually had like a nice long little talk about how bye weeks should impact your strategy in the eliminator. So I think that's going to be the topic for today. Is just going through my thoughts on bye weeks in the eliminator, what they mean, how you should deal with them, all that sort of stuff. So obviously, I think it's very clear that in general, in the eliminator, later buys are better because unlike BBM style contests, you know it is less likely for your team to be playing at the end of the season than it is early in the season. Now, it can be overblown to some extent because, especially in the French eliminators, the math is a little bit different. But for the main eliminator contest, once you get to the first bye, you're only going to have 1/16 of the teams in the contest. So if you're maxing it, like I plan on doing, you're expected to have 9 or 10 teams by the time you hit any buys mattering at all, which is obviously means that maybe they're not that important. Maybe it's just important to be getting there. And at that point, those teams have already made you what, $20. So it's not like you're making a fortune before it, which is sort of why I think the best sort of analogy for people that are more into Best Ball Mania content is talking about week 17, week 15, week 16 correlation. Because it understanding your buys does a lot of the same things for your team. It increases your expected value later in the event. It's what really helps you win a lot of money. Maybe not win the contest because those are weeks 15, 16, 17, and there's no buys those weeks. But they do help you go from $20 to I believe 10,000, which is a pretty substantial difference. So navigating correctly is very important in my mind. Now, how do you actually navigate bias correctly is then the question, because it's obviously they're very important. It's obvious that later buys are better, and the other thing is stacking buys is really really bad because if you have a bunch of players on the same buy on 1 week, suddenly your projected points dips a lot. Your opponent probably doesn't have that same problem, and it's less likely that you're going to get through one of those weeks where it's maybe more important for your team to be able to get through. So, in my mind, understanding how much you can stack buys is a lot about two things. How much are you generally stacking the same team on your team? Because those things obviously correlate. If you're stacking a bunch of players on the same team, you're going to end up with a bunch of players that have the same buy. And that's not great from a single week floor perspective, but it's like fine from a season long perspective. You're just betting on that team to overperform their ADP, and that's great. It's not bad that you want to be doing that. So the more that I have the same team that I'm dealing with, the more I'm okay stacking the same buys. Also, the more spread out between the positions it is, the more with accepting overlapping buys. Because I care a lot less if I have a quarterback with a week 13 bye, a running back with a week 13 bye, two receivers with a week 13 bye, and a tight end with a week 13 bye, because I know I've got one or two other tight ends that can fill in, and one or two other quarterbacks that can fill in, 3, 4, 5 other running backs, 4, 5, 6 other receivers that can fill in. That's okay. What's really bad is when you have the same position group. Like if I have, let's say, 4 receivers with the week 11 bye, which I have some teams that are like that. That's leaving 3, maybe 4 receivers to fill 3 spots in week 11. And that really, really increases the chances that you're hitting a 0 in your lineup. And zeros are absolutely deadly. Even if you really pop off at the other positions, taking zeros is really, really bad. So I think you want to be spreading out your buys, and you want to be making sure that your strong buys are not the same draft capital. It's a very different thing. Let's use that same 4 receivers week 11 buys example. If I start my team, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and then I get let's say a nice fall like Garrett Wilson as my first 3 receivers. And then later in the draft, I go, okay, I'll grab Jaden Reed. I'll grab, Christian Watson. I'll grab, who are some other week 11 buys? An Atlanta Falcons player, Zachariah Branch. And I'll grab, 4 later round week 11 buys. Cooper Kupp. Like, that's a very different situation because I can really rely, I think, on Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson to maybe, like, you're still worried about injuries and stuff, but if they're healthy, you can rely on them to be scoring points. Like, you're not worried about taking zeros anywhere there. However, if I start off a draft going Puka, Drake London, and then the next receiver I take is like Devontae Adams and Christian Watson, and I have a bunch of these like Dontavian Wicks, Xavier Worthy, and Jacoby Myers as my 3 receivers, like those guys are much alive to like score 0. So you have to it's a lot of things you have to balance at the same time. You have to balance how highly these buys are getting drafted, how much you're accepting this risk with the team level correlation, how much you think you can avoid zeros with the way that your buys are spread out between your team, and how okay you are with just going, okay, I've loaded up on a bunch of late buys. Those weeks are going to be rough. They're going to be rough anyway because those are some of the best teams in the contest. So, yeah, you really don't want to be like stacking week 5 buys. Like you can't be doing like Rashee Rice, Tet McMillan, Kenneth Walker. Like that's a lot harder to justify compared to saying, hey, I'm stacking the Cowboys. I got this really nice start where I was able to go CeeDee Lamb, Javonte, George Pickens, Jeremiah Love. All 4 week 14 buys. Generally not great, but you've already made $10,000 by the time you're dealing with any of that, and you do still have the rest of the team. So you're not like a complete 0 in week 14 as long as you build it right. So generally, my takeaways from buys are I don't want more than, like, if my first 2 picks are the same buy, this happens a lot with if I go receiver start from like the 4 or 5 hole. Like if I get like a Puka Drake London start. That's fine, but I need to really be conscientious of not touching other week 11 buys. Otherwise, I generally don't want more than 3 through the first 7 rounds. And once you're past there, like I can have, like, I care a lot less about having, if I have 4, 5, even 6 week 10 buys, but they all come from rounds 8 or later, it's fine. Like the core parts of my team are still there that week. That can even be really good to just say, oh, I don't have a bunch of depth this week, but I have a bunch of depth all the other weeks. And week 10, I just expect my stars to go out and shine. So that was a nice little chat on that. I think that's, again, another thing that is important to think through. But if you think through it correctly, you're probably going to come to logical conclusions if you're smart and you like just sit down and focus on it. But now let's go ahead and start making some picks. We've talked for long enough. This one, we were at the 10 hole. We started CeeDee Lamb. Kenneth Walker seems like a nice addition. I love it when the sidekick in my ranks and my initial thoughts agree. So we started with Justin Jefferson, went Cook Barkley, which means we're going to be taking Derrick Henry. Absolutely, we will be taking Derrick Henry. Here we started Puka Nacua, and we're in the situation that we talked about earlier, where I think the correct choice here is to grab A.J. Brown, even with the overlapping bye. A lot of people are scared of it. I think you just need to be very conscientious of how you build your teams here. I do like Nico Collins, but we'll go ahead and pick up A.J. Brown here and just like sort of be aware of having to be careful with this team. This team, we started McCaffrey, and we'll be grabbing Bowers. Almost certainly. Like, I am so happy to be overweight Bowers. If this Vegas offense is as good as we're expecting it to be, and even if it's not that great, like, it's going to flow through Bowers, and there's no other receivers on the team. Like, it's him and Genty. Like, I can take a tight end this high when his target competition is Jalen Naylor derogatory and Trey Tucker, who's had one good game in his entire life. That's an exaggeration, but I believe it is directionally correct. Here's a pretty standard start. I think it's Gibbs, Williams, Hall. Like, I think there's going to be a ton of people with this because it's like very clear after Breece Hall, like, the quality of running backs goes down dramatically, in my opinion, to Jeremiah Love and Kyron. Like, there's some real questions that I don't think you have with Gibbs, Javonte, or Breece. Like, these guys are clear, locked in number ones on good offenses or a talent-based bet in a less good offense. Like, Arizona's just so bad. And Jeremiah Love's a rookie with a significant hurdle to overcome in Tyler Algier. Like, prime Bijan Robinson wasn't able to completely eclipse Tyler Algier. And that's prime Bijan Robinson. So I think Jeremiah Love may have some more trouble than people think. Get to have a little bit of a later pick here. So we got Waddle and T-Mac at the top of my ranks, with Scatterbo being my top running back. So this is a tough spot where it's like I in a vacuum, I like the receivers over the running backs. However, structurally, I like a running back here. Like, I'd be very clearly Waddle McMillan on a team where I have two running backs through three, but I think it's going to be difficult to replace the production of a Scatterbo Montgomery type in this like Pollard, Warren, Hubbard range. Like, I think the 2v2 on this team of Scatterbo and Marvin Harrison beats out Ramondre and Jalen Waddle. Where on, I think, more teams, I would rather have Waddle and Ramondre. So I'll go ahead and grab Cam Scatterbo here. I definitely prefer Scatterbo over Montgomery. It's close with Judkins. But yeah, definitely Cam Scatterbo here. Like, one of the big ones, we're at the turn. And yeah, I see you wanting to take Saquon. I'm not going to be doing that. I'll be taking Jefferson and Derrick Henry. So again, I just want to be in on Derrick Henry in this offense with this schedule. Like, people aren't thinking about it enough. And it can be a huge edge if you're getting this like Jonathan Taylor start to the season with Derrick Henry, even if he peters off, because he's going up against a bunch of cupcakes. So we're back at the same spot where it's like, yep, kind of just have to take these 2 week 11 buys and just be very, very conscientious about it as we continue to go through the draft. That's why it's important, obviously, to go and like look through your teams before you just draft who's at the top of your ranks or click whoever the sidekick tells you to. Obviously, that's less important here right now when it's like, oh, I have one person to look at, CeeDee Lamb. Once again, as it looks like I'm getting a CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Walker start. It feels pretty good. I want to have a lot of these teams because I think it's a good start. I think you're avoiding some landmines with this start. Almost certainly Derrick Henry here, my 12th ranked player, ADP's 14th ranked player, getting him at the 16. Absolutely. I want Derrick Henry with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I want Derrick Henry. I want combos of Derrick Henry with freaking everyone. in the first round. He is my second round pick. Yeah, pretty clear CD here. We went Jefferson. They went Cook, Barkley. You know what we're doing. We're taking Derrick Henry again. It's just, man. I'm so glad that I did that deep dive before I did these drafts, because I think I would have been mixing in a lot more other players if I hadn't really sat down and looked at the schedule and thought through things as much as I had. All right. So now we're in another interesting situation. We're in the fifth round here. And we've got Bijan, Javante, Tootin, and Drake London. Top of my ranks is Judkins. I don't really love a Week 11 by running back here. I think it's a bit constricting. I don't love the Week 11 by receiver. Did I do this? Yes, I did the thing where I tried to screw around with Mike Evans and he accidentally got unranked. So let me go fix that in my ranks. Obviously, Mike Evans should be ranked. Mike Evans is a good player. And where do I want him? Discord notification sound. Disgusting. Okay. So, I think he's definitely above Colson Loveland. That I'm confident of. I think I want him over, definitely Terry. I think I like Terry the least out of those guys. Although, I'm not sure I need JMO behind, I think. No, I do think I need him behind, there. Evans versus Luther Burden. I think Burden, I like Evans more than Burden before the injury. I think Evans over Devontae. And I think it's tough for me to go Evans over T-Mac or I think this is about where I want him. That's obviously subject to change. Because I did that really kind of like a days going quickly. But yeah, I think that ends up with me agreeing that I think I would rather Evans over Adams here, especially with the buys. And definitely over Judkins. I like having all my players be able to contribute points to the lineup that I take early. Yeah, that feels correct. Frenchie 2. We're back at the spot. Okay. Again, I took more receivers than usual, so I'm going to be more interested in taking running backs. Sidekick doesn't like Quinshon Judkins. It wants Byshell Tootin here. I'm willing to listen to Byshell Tootin. I may not be willing to click Byshell Tootin, but I'm willing to listen and think about it. And go. Yeah, let's go Bucky, I think, then. I mean, or I could just go Waddle here. I mean, Waddle's higher in my ranks. I don't think we need a running back. I like Waddle. I think that he can be really good in this offense. Let's go Waddle. It also just makes me not have to decide which of these running backs to take, and maybe one of them falls back to me. And if they don't, I'll just take a fourth receiver, and that'll be fine. Back with Cedrian Lamb at the 10th spot. Absolutely going to be taking him. Thank you very much. At the 6th spot, taking Amon-Ra over JSN and JT. Here is interesting. We have Javante already went. Interesting. I actually do agree with Breece Hall over Nico Collins here. Because it's I don't want to be taking Kyron early second round or Jeremiah Love early second round, and I do want a running back. And I'm okay taking McBride. I mean, I'm so ahead on Trey McBride, despite wanting to be on the Cardinals. It's kind of strange. You know what? Let's move Trey McBride below Flowers and Kyron below Trey McBride. Because again, the Cardinals are just going to be a disaster. Even if Trey McBride can consolidate, like they're going to be a disaster and have rough matchups at the beginning of the year, which means it's more likely than I am initially fearing. Initially thought that we're going to get Carson back earlier rather than later. So yeah, I'm pretty moving him down, and now it makes it a lot more clear. Like what my mind was thinking was, okay, Brees is the only running back I'm happy to take in this range. I'm relatively happy to take any of these other receivers in this range. So let's grab Brees, and then we may end up with one of these other guys. All right, so we started receiver, CD Justin Jefferson. I said I wasn't going to be afraid of Josh Jacobs this morning. So I'm not going to be afraid of Josh Jacobs this morning, and I will grab him with this pick. Oh my gosh, top of the queue is Josh Allen. Let's take Josh Allen. No, I will not be taking any Josh Allen. Have I taken Josh Allen? I have not. Good. I have not taken Josh Allen in this contest. I have taken Josh Allen in other things. Notably, my Big Gorilla team has Josh Allen on him, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, we got very simple Puka at the 4. Coming in for a second round pick here, almost assuredly. Yep. And we got Jahmyr Gibbs at the 2 here. So we'll get a Jahmyr Gibbs, Drake London start. That's not super common. Happily take that. And then probably most interesting pick. Moving from the 4 position, starting Nakua London. By my ranks, it's Neighbors or Flowers. Psychic wants Jeremiah Love. I will not be doing that. I'll either be taking Neighbors or Flowers. I think I'll take Neighbors. I think this is actually like exactly the right team to take Neighbors on, because Neighbors is almost certainly going to be like back and healthy by week 11, and he can really shore up the weaknesses there. And if Neighbors is healthy week 1, Puka, London, Neighbors as a receiving room is just like absurd for the first 10 weeks. So I'll grab Neighbors here. Feel pretty good about it. Yeah, so we got in all the extra slows that we wanted for this round. I have 50 more eliminators to do. It's at an 81% fill rate. So I'm going to check in tonight to see what the fill rate's at, see how fast I have to enter these slows. So I want to make sure I get them all in before contest closes, obviously. But I want to space them out. So we have some early, some mid, some late round picks as we're talking through these exercises. But yeah, so right now it is 11:07. We've got obviously some that are one pick away that'll probably switch over relatively soon. So I guess the plan should be that I'll be back around 6-ish, like 6 or 7 p.m. to do the late night one. I may do like a little like one of those like 10-15 minute streams, or like post a pre-recorded video. I'm thinking that these may do better as pre-recorded videos. I'm interested in seeing what happens with that. Just because these are like a nice 20-30 minutes. I have like different topics for all of them. I might try doing that. And then like get the title and like thumbnail machine working. That might be a good way to package these. But we'll continue to think on that and work on that later. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for watching this, and I will see you later tonight. Bye-bye.